We're going to keep it short and simple today. This is all about Trevor Lawrence this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it'll tell the story about what his future will look like. We'll discuss that and more here today on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is happening? It is Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen here today on Locked On Jaguars. We have a really good show for you today. Of course, OTAs have started. We're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence. We're going to make sure we get to that and give you a different look and a different outlook than most places that you'll hear about the Jaguars today. We're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence. We're going to do all of that like we do. Thank you to the everydayers for joining us here like you do every single day on Locked On Jaguars, and reminding everyone we're free to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen. We will be there. Now, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. Make sure you check out FanDuel right now. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to discuss this. I'm going to tell you what I think happens this year with Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. Before that, in the middle of the show, what can boost or derail the outlook for Trevor Lawrence, and then the Jaguars, both. Because if the outlook for Trevor is good, then I think the outlook for the Jaguars is good. If the outlook isn't as favorable for Trevor, it won't be as favorable for the Jaguars. But first, we're going to start out talking about Trevor Lawrence is in a show it year. And what I mean by that is, no, I'm not echoing the sentiments of those people that believe that if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play well this year, the Jaguars are going to move on. That is not going to happen. I don't think it's possible, because I want everyone to understand that Trevor Lawrence is currently playing on a fifth-year option. He is not even started and began that $250 some odd million extension that has 180 some odd million, I guess, dollars that are guaranteed. I think he's got some of the bonus money. But next year, in 2026, is actually the first year of Trevor's new deal. So you're not going to come away with some sort of moratorium at the end of this season, regardless of how good or bad it is. Now, granted, I'm going to give you the scenarios here. The worst case scenario is if he absolutely stinks this joint up and Liam Cohen looks at James Gladstone and says they ruined him. And that'll be a whole other discussion, by the way, whether or not he ever had the goods, whether or not somebody who put out a pre-draft report about, well, he's a good kid and he cares about a whole bunch of other stuff, and, football really ain't that big of a deal. Somebody said that crap. And I think they took something he said out of context when they did say that. But in any event, it was said. And it's been echoed because this thing hasn't gone the way everyone thought it was going to go. But if that's the case, this becomes Deshaun Watson, but for different reasons. Ain't no allegations. This ain't about. Most people think Deshaun Watson got derailed because he had all this BS going on, or allegedly going on. And it affected his play so bad that by the time he came back, he started getting banged up. But then he knew everybody knew all of this stuff, or thought all of this stuff, whether it's true or not. And that affected the way that he plays. Like, you got some athletes that take that kind of stuff, and like Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. I don't care what you know about me. I don't care what you think you know. I'm about to put this whooping on you. It's not the case for Watson. So now he's making a boatload of money, and it sounds like they don't want anything to do with him up there. The fans, the media, the team, all of that stuff. Jimmy Haslam even came out and said that it was something that there was a misstep. They messed up, right? So that's the worst case for Trevor Lawrence. And it'll never get that bad because, well, there's no character issues. If anything, people will just feel like it just didn't work out, right? But he'll still be under the first year of that extension. So this is going to work whether y'all like it or not. And how it's going to work, whether it's going to be good work or bad work, depends on this year with Trevor Lawrence. And that's why we're here. It's a short year for him. I don't think Liam Cohen takes this job understanding the dynamic of Trevor's contract situation. If he didn't believe, he could have waited. They had a playoff team in Tampa. You don't think that offense was going to do good again? They just drafted another wide receiver and they, fortified the offensive line a little bit, got the defense a little bit better. Baker Mayfield is comfortable. They loaded down there. You don't think that team would have been good enough for Liam Cohen to get him another job next year? And this is what people don't understand about him taking this job. And this is what people don't understand about when you really wonder how a guy feels about Trevor Lawrence as a player. I think he's looking at Trevor Lawrence as who he believes Trevor Lawrence is, not necessarily saying, okay, they did him a disservice, but they probably did. He's looking at who Trevor Lawrence is, identifying whether or not he can win with those characteristics, those traits, and that physical ability. Looking at what he probably already thought about Trevor Lawrence. And then maybe they take a peek and see what has been going on and they figure out, okay, we need to provide more answers for him in our offense. And I think when people hear that, they think that that's a handicap. They think that that's like we're sliding some cliff notes, or we're going to have it kind of is that way, but it also kind of is what all coaches should be doing. Ding, 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 ding. This is not a situation where how they're talking about providing answers for Trevor Lawrence and how they're talking about the picture that he sees pre-snap. This isn't like they're trying to dummy down anything. This is more like they're trying to, and I want y'all to pay attention. This is what they're trying to, regardless of how talented you think he is, they're providing him with resources. They're providing him with things that can make him successful. They're insulating him on the offensive line, and they're giving him more weapons. And they're providing him an easier landscape and a more clear canvas every single play for him to come out and identify where the ball should be going. And then they're going to probably work on those mechanics so that everything is easier and he doesn't have to play a hero ball. Newsflash, that's what all of those coaches should have been doing with Trevor Lawrence. When they got the draft rights to him, what did I say? If you've listened to Locked On Jaguars for more than 3 or 4 years, you've heard me use this word insulate. You've heard me, even though it was tongue-in-cheek when people that I know said this, give Trevor the ball and get him out of the way. You know now why I said that was a mistake. If you listen to people that go, before he ever threw a pass, he needs to be involved in everything. You need to run everything through him. It sounds good, right, on paper, but it also sounds like people that's never had anything. You understand where I'm coming from? It sounds like people that are so starved for success, they have this grandiose idea of what you're supposed to do with it when you get a franchise quarterback. And it turns out it's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do when you get a franchise quarterback. Did New England do that to Tom Brady? Hell, Tom Brady was in his 16th year and he was still over there arguing with people about having freedom to do the things that he wanted to do. Left and went somewhere else with a little chip on his shoulder, won a championship in like his 19th or 20th year. And only after that did him and the coach decide to kiss and make up. I'm just trying to get somebody to tell me when and where has it ever worked that you get a quarterback and then you run everything through your quarterback. To show me from a standpoint where a rookie needed all of that and got all of that. He didn't. And it made me absolutely sick. So am I sitting here blaming that on media and fans that said that? Absolutely not. But I am saying you got some nerve to be upset that this stuff didn't work when you were out there throwing out all of these formulas and scenarios for it not to work. I hope you're happy. Congratulations. The narrative that y'all put out there about this, whether it's all of that Prince of Power or Prince of Promise or whatever, or whoever it is, it ain't got nothing to do with first downs, touchdowns, interceptions, third down conversions. The dude needed to be just ingratiated with his team, with his face in especially now that we can all agree that the people coaching them didn't know what they were doing. So what had happened, I didn't say it, but what had to happen was he should have been even more into that playbook, God help him. He should have even been more around his teammates trying to figure out how a way to motivate them to keep him upright. Okay? I like what they're doing. They're providing answers for him. And that's why I said all of that, because I'm about to set up what can boost or derail the outlook for Trevor Lawrence. It's all about him. I just came back off vacation, and I was on vacation, man, in a pool in Jamaica and on the beach in Jamaica, eating stuff in my face with jerk chicken. And I'm sitting there thinking like, Wig, you're making this too complicated. The success of the Jaguars this year depends on the success of Trevor Lawrence. And this year is going to tell everybody who has questions, opinions, whether they're right, wrong, strong, or weak about Trevor Lawrence. This year is going to tell us everything we need to know. We're 100 days away from all of this stuff starting and your answers being answered. I think I know what Trevor is, but we're going to see. I'm going to tell you right here in the next segment what can boost or derail Trevor Lawrence and how we feel about him in the future. We'll discuss that more here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. SGA, man, last night. Major momentum shifts and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I'm going to tell you right now, man, what would it look like to combine live props and mid-game based on how the action actually unfolds? In-game action, that's the key. All right, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, running it down here on Locked On Jaguars. I am Tony Wiggins. Belated happy Memorial Day. I hate, sometimes we get confused. Happy may not be the right word, but I'm happy I woke up and can at least say happy Memorial Day, thanking all of those people who served and gave the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms here in America. You are not forgotten. Thank you. And to their families, bless you all too. I wanted to say that. I was on vacation to celebrate my 18th wedding anniversary. I don't know how my wife put up with me. It's probably the same way y'all put up with me every single day here on Locked On Jaguars. The every day is anyway, and I do appreciate it. The only difference is y'all do it for 27 to 32 minutes. She has to do it 24 hours a day. So pray for Kim. But anyway, as we get back to Trevor Lawrence, what can boost the derail of quarterback's outlook? Let's do the derail part first. And y'all know I don't like this because it seems like you're speaking things into existence, but you're not really. But it's what it is, and what I'm doing is just being real and keeping it real, doing it the Locked On Jaguars way, where we always talk about possibilities. The I word is the first one, and that means him getting banged up. Doesn't necessarily mean somebody had to break down or a lineman had to miss a block. Trevor's been banged up when he ran out of the pocket before. He's been banged up trying to get away from people, been banged up by dirty hits, all kinds of stuff. So, look, we all know that's part of the game, right? You reduce the chances of that happening, though, by increasing everything around it. And other than a freak accident, hopefully those things don't happen. So that could obviously hinder things and get in the way. And it actually, from a long-term perspective, when you're talking about how people feel about Trevor, it actually probably wouldn't make people feel any differently than they feel now. Because while injuries don't help your case, it certainly doesn't hurt you as much as playing poorly, right? That's why I mentioned Deshaun Watson. There are still people holding out hope that if he gets healthy, he can show up and be like the dude he was in Houston. But I think it's all in his mind. But still, what has to happen is Trevor has to come out if he's upright and if he's there all year. Folks have to see certain things from him. He has to fix that issue early in games where he's hyped and excited. And I think some of that can be schematic And I think some of that can be learned by sort of walking him into game plans a little bit, getting that run going, not making it so that he has to come out and start slinging it, or maybe just come out and run max protect play action and throw the ball deep to Brian Thomas Jr. just to get all of that stuff out of his system. That one big throw, just get rid of it. Just let it go. All right, now we can chill. All right. I can't even talk about what I'm thinking about, but y'all see what I'm saying. You just got to get that one out of the way, right? So we can get on to business and see what it really is about, right? Get that exciting part early in the game. Game first starts, throw that thing as far as you can, and now you'll see what I'm really about. Because now I've calmed down, I've gotten all that excitement out of my system, and y'all better stay with me and keep your mind out of the gutter. But you get my point. They have to do something to figure that out. I ain't never mad at a dude for being happy and excited about playing because he loves the game and hyped and nervous. Hell, when I was in school, I was pretty good with my hands now. I ain't have to use them very often, but when I did, I was pretty sharp with it, right? But even when I was about to squab with somebody that I knew I could beat up, I was still nervous. And I'm hoping that what we see with Trevor is what that is. That it's the anxiety that comes from being so excited because he wants to play well, that he comes out a little bit too hyped early, and he has to get to the ebb of the flow of the game. You got to get to the point where he probably gets hit once or twice, and then he forgets that he's even got something to be excited about. And the competitive nature in him wakes up and he goes, okay, we'll get right. So injuries, the slow starts, okay? The other thing I'd like to see him do, because there's this thing that he does, and I probably have never shared this or said this, but it just seems like to me it's just something that happens, right? It seems like when things start going bad, he really, really leans into being all those adjectives that people call him, like the Prince of Promise and all of this stuff. And he gets this look like he has to, okay, I got to do something. I don't want all of that to go away because to me, I think that's what great players have. They have it, okay, it's on me. I got to figure it out one way or another. Everybody's going to blame me for everything type of demeanor. That's a good thing. But now this is where I go back towards the coaches and what could boost him. When he gets like that and you see it, run the ball. Run the ball. Because if you do it successful, one, you speed the game up. Two, you let the other team know we're about to punch you in the face. All right. So you better load up, put your hat on. Three, it calms him down and allows him to understand that he doesn't have to do everything. Now, if they do that, I think that could boost up things a little bit. Here's some other things. They've already done the things that I believe can boost it. They started that. It wasn't even this staff. When they drafted Brian Thomas Jr., that's one. And we didn't see him and Trevor enough because Trevor got injured last year. But that's one thing that they've done, right? Two, they've began the process of making sure that offensive line has a lot of competition and that it's always, even though it's the one thing you want to have continuity, until you get the right people, man, you better keep that thing in motion. And then when you do get the right five, you better keep those five behind them, those 4 or 5 guys behind them. They better be yoked up, and that kind of competition that you got going with the whole unit now needs to continue, because this has to become something that is a normal thing. This shouldn't just be something that, okay, this is what we're going to do because this is what Trevor Lawrence needs done. No, this has to be normal. It has to be normal that this team gets to the point where they start believing that this is just who we are. This ain't who we want to be. This is who we are as an organization. And I just think that'll trickle down throughout the whole organization. The word physical should be the first thing you think about when you think about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I believe that definitely is going to happen. And that itself will boost up Trevor Lawrence. Finally, if they start winning, people will start give him more grace and understanding of who he really is. They'll forget all about all of that stuff. Even though there's a handful of people that's always remember that he was the first pick in the draft. There's a handful of people that's going to always remember all of the things that people said about him when he was at Clemson. They're not going to ever let it go, even though they might have 5-6 years of evidence and think a new narrative to move on from. They never will. But the bottom line is if you win, winning makes people forget about everything. Ask Jared Goff. What's the difference between Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, right? Winning. Ask Baker Mayfield. Playing better and winning and being a person that people believe is responsible for that winning cures everything, because people don't want to be obviously wrong. People will be wrong when they can trick you, but they don't want to be obviously wrong. Talking bad about a dude with a 68% completion percentage and his team is 12-5 and they got home field advantage for a playoff game, and you're going to sit there and rip them and say that they ain't living up to it? Nah, that ain't going to happen, especially if a dude's quarterback rating is high and he got 27 touchdowns and 7 picks. Ain't no way you're going to sit there and say it, because those dudes are front runners. That's what they do. They have low-hanging fruit mentality where all they do is talk about things that are obvious, and then when things are a little bit like they are for Trevor Lawrence, where you're trying to figure out whether or not he's going to be as good as people think, folks have a tendency to go with what they believe or what they want to believe. I'm going to give you something to believe in, because I'm going to tell you what I think happens. And I'm not just talking about this season. I'm talking about period for Trevor Lawrence, but it'll start this year. Let's get into it. Third final segment here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, man, we rolling along here talking about Trevor Lawrence. He's in a show at year. What can boost, derail, how we feel about that quarterback and his outlook. All right, now I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. I think a lot of things that I just mentioned that the Jaguars need to do, they're going to do it. And they're not going to do it because I said they need to do it. They're going to do it. I said it because it's really much what I have deducted from what they have said that they're going to do. You see, I talk for a living and I get paid to talk, but I can't talk without listening. And I listen and I hear everything that they say. And it gives me an idea of exactly where they're going to go. It provides me a roadmap with what I think they're trying to do. Well, Trevor Lawrence's play this year is going to take all of the speculation and guessing out of, was it him? Was it press? Is he good, but not as good as we thought? Is he not good? Does he care about other things way more than football, which is a good thing for life, but a bad thing for football? Are they going to Josh Rosen him? What's going to happen this year with Trevor Lawrence? I'll start to tell you right now. I believe wholeheartedly that Trevor has played better than people give him credit for. I also believe that Trevor has not played as well as some people would allow you to believe he's played, because they are still holding on to what they believe. And they want to blame everybody for everything that's happened with Trevor Lawrence except Trevor, and making him accountable. I think there's a part of that going on too. But in a nutshell, everybody's overreacting a little bit. Why? It's because a quarterback can't be real successful without consistent wide receivers. A quarterback can't be real successful without a good rapport with his coach, who is a good coach. I don't want him to have a good rapport with a bad coach, okay? So maybe that might be good that he didn't have a great rapport with the last two coaches, who are the first two coaches that he's had in the NFL. He's had Doug Peterson and Urban Meyer. I'm just letting you know he had Doug Peterson and Urban Meyer. Is that good? I don't think so. That offensive line has been below average the whole time that boy has been here. That young man has been here. And calling him below average might even be, I think I'm just being too nice when I say that, right? Team hasn't been able to run the ball since that dude's been here, with the exception of the 1 year when they had James Robinson, and didn't mean nothing because they were getting their head bashed in and they were running the ball. Some of that stuff was fool's gold, man. I believe what happens is the same thing that happened with Baker Mayfield, but probably a little bit better. in Tampa. That's what I feel like is going to happen to Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to catapult himself. I said after his second year, I said Trevor was a top 7 quarterback. I don't think many people believe that now. I think people have him about 11 or 12. I think he puts himself back into that top 6 conversation, 6 or 7, because there's 2 or 3 at the top, right? There's Patrick Mahomes, there's Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. Some people put Joe Burrow in there too. I probably will. And then there's a little bit of a gap, but then right behind those 4 is like C.J. Stroud, who I think Trevor is in his neighborhood more than people think. And there's some other real good ones. Baker's in there. I ain't going to sit here and go through all these quarterbacks, but yeah, there's another little group right there. I think Trevor's in that Dak group, even though his stats aren't as good as Dak Prescott's. That's where he is. I think he sits there or gets a little bit above that this year. I think Trevor Lawrence is top 6 to 8 quarterback this year. I think the Jaguars offense is somewhere between 8 and 12 overall, because I think it's going to take a little bit of time for everybody to get on the same page. And I already said I think they're going to win double-digit games and make the playoffs. So that's going to change everybody's narrative about Trevor Lawrence. And the contract he signed, the one that he won't start actually playing on until 2026, by the time 2026 comes, people are going to look at that contract like it's a bargain. They're going to look at that contract like it's a bargain, and then they're going to give Trent Baalke credit for doing it. See, we just said it. There you go. That's what I believe happens this year. 11 or 12 wins for the Jaguars. People get off Trevor's back a little bit. 4,000 yards. 4,000 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. He might have more touchdowns than that, but I do believe that now this team is going to be a team that runs the ball in the red zone, so he probably won't. But make sure, man, you tap in. I have a report from OTAs that happened today that I'm actually currently recording when I should be headed down there, but I'm not going to make that today. I just got back from Jamaica and I have to record another podcast right after this, but I will get in touch with my people and have a report from OTAs tomorrow. Everyone will be there. Trayvon is going to talk today, so we'll talk a little Trayvon Walker tomorrow. He's going to talk to some folks today after practice. We'll keep you abreast of everything that goes on, man. Make sure we tap in each and every day to Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day, because that's what we do here on Locked On Jaguars. And then you want to get smarter, you need to get smarter by tapping into Locked On NFL Scouting. Even if you don't want to get smarter, just go over and see Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino on Locked On NFL Scouting and get entertained and be made smarter even when you're not trying to. All right, I'm Tony Wiggins with Locked On Jaguars. We appreciate you guys joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for spending 28 minutes with us here today.